Hello, Cranberry Township. I'm Mary Francis. I'm with Cranberry Public Library. Do you recognize where you are? Maybe yes, maybe no, if you've not been in the Municipal Center. This is our brand new Makerspace that's still under construction, but we cannot wait for it to be open. But we're not there yet. Can't have it open yet. So I thought it would be fun to bring you a little bit of what this space eventually can do for you. You can come and enjoy and make and create and collaborate, but we can't do that together. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tutorial. Maybe you can get crafty at home and do something similar to what you'd be able to do in our future space. Part of being a maker is being creative and resourceful and inspired by materials, by the environment. When you come into the Makerspace Forge, you will be inspired by the equipment and the tools and the supplies that we might have there for you to try all these things out. But this is a little bit more of a challenge because you're at home, I'm at home. So for this activity, I have to be very much in a maker mindset. I have to think about what kinds of things might you have in your garage or your kitchen or your bathroom or crafts supply closet or whatever that you have. So putting my thinking cap on and thinking like a maker, I think there might be hope in this. I think I came up with something. I think I got this. Let me show you what I came up with. We're going to make some string art. Really simple. We all have these things at home. I'm pretty sure of it. Just start raiding your garage and your bathroom and your craft closet. This is where I found stuff in my house. So you will need the following for this craft. Simple tool like a hammer. Doesn't have to be anything major industrial. I have a really lightweight one because this is a small little nail project. I'm not going to build a house here. Pair of pliers just in case you drive in a nail and it goes in crooked. You'll need this to pull that nail out. Pair of cuticle scissors and some tweezers. You'll also need a piece of wood, something to put the nails into. This piece has been sanded and it has been primed and painted, so I have a nice surface to nail upon. You don't really want anything too thin because you risk the nails being driven all the way through if your nail depth is not appropriate. So in this case, it's 3/4 inch. It's what I had. Then you'll need some nails. I have, again, a real simple nail, but there's two really important things to know about nails. The first has to do with the head size. This head size is broad enough that it can hold string underneath without popping off. And it's 3/4 inch in length, which means if you were to drive this through, in theory, it would go all the way through the wood. Would it potentially go all the way through? Only if I was super strong to drive it through. But in string art, there will be a part of the nail that is up top, and that nail spacing needs to be consistent. So I have a kind of a trick for that too. You can in fact use pliers, and you can hold your nail using the pliers and to maintain the same thickness throughout the board. I myself found that when I do that, I actually damage my surface because I slip and I scuff the surface, or I accidentally div into the board. That I don't care for. So I came up with my own little maker creativity thing. Grab a row of staples out of your stapler, and this will maintain the same height all the way across your design. So your nail height is exactly the same, which will give a really nice professional look of your string art. You'll also need some Scotch tape or painter's tape or masking tape, whatever. If you're going to do this craft from start to finish, your paper will not be on there very long, which means the tape will not pull the finish off of the wood. And lastly, whatever you're going to string this with, I am going to use this really cool multicolored string. You don't have to. You can use yarn, you can use crochet thread, you can use embroidery floss, even regular sewing thread, twine even. All depends. The thinner though that you go, the more times you're going to have to wrap the thread around the nail to achieve color. So lastly, these are all great. You in theory can do whatever you want from here in terms of an image. But in going with my thought that we all need a little bit of hope, and there needs to be hope for this project, I found the word hope. And I grabbed this just off of the internet. You can do that too. obviously, I went and found, I am very inspired, and being a maker is being about inspired. I'm inspired by words, and hope is very appropriate right now. The benefit of this actually is a string art image, which means that all of the nail postings are already there. You can see where all the nail heads are, which means you're not having to recreate where your nail spaces will be. Also, I made 2 copies of my template. One we will stick to the board, the other is to reference while I am stringing. So, this is the stuff. Let's make. So gather all of your supplies and find yourself an appropriate space to be able to work. I put down a sheet just to be able to protect my counter from where I was working, and just laid everything out to show you what I had in front of me. So before I show you this project with time lapse, I thought it would be kind of neat for you to see this a little bit up close and in person with the nails. So again, this is a 3/4 inch nail, and it has a head on it that would allow string to go underneath and stay underneath without popping off. So I'm going to do a simple little pattern just to show you. I'm going to drive this nail in as straight up as I possibly can, and then my little hack is I put the staple run next to the nail and I pound until the top of the nail just hits the top of the staple run. Let me do one more of those. And it touches just the top of that. Again, if your nail like this one, I drove it in a little bit crooked, I can go ahead and just pound it, just straighten it out a little bit. It's easiest and looks best if you can get them as straight up as possible, but if you go around my little example here, all of the nail heads touch just the top of the staple run. That one might be a little bit higher than the other. That should be good. Next, the most important thing is how do you start tying. So I'm going to show you with black because it's easy to illustrate. This is a crochet thread, but again, you can use yarn, you can use thread, whatever. So a simple knot I simply tie. Kind of do it up here first, and I'm going to do an actual double loop there. So I've got 2 loops in there, and I'm going to tie that to this one nail and tie it tight. So I have a little piece here that I need to trim off. I use some cuticle scissors because they're nice and sharp and they get real close to the nail head. Just be certain, don't cut your knot. And there's going to be a little tiny little piece here that I do not want to see. I'm going to tuck that on the inside of my design. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to show you. I hold it taut in one hand, and I keep my hand available to hold the string that I started with my left hand. I wrap it around, I pull tight, I wrap it around the next nail, going around in a circle, and I just looped underneath that head. Go to the next one, and I've looped that way. So now all of this is on one side. Say I would like to continue going to this one. I could loop again, same process here. I hold the string around, do it again, looping around like that, and I'm going to go back again here. So I've outlined everything on the outside, but say for instance I want to go around the inside of the nail. You can do that. You have to be very patient with string art because I don't know if you noticed, but this thread just fell. Give yourself a little bit of slack, come around again, like that. And this time I'm going to do a fun little weave on the inside, going around, continuously around, and you'll see that I will have a pattern on the inside. Another way to do that. Say I want to have a pattern that's going to crisscross over. I can do that. I'm going to go make that be my starting point. I just keep wrapping. I'm going to go this way and wrap, this way and wrap. All my patterns this time are all random, but you can eventually kind of get a rhythm. I find it's sometimes hard to jump over a nail. I would first, if I wanted to have this end over there, say I want to knot it up there, I would go to the middle nail again. See, again, it's not so easy when you get some thread on there. When you get lots of thread on there, it's getting thick. And then I'm going to end it where I started. So I'm going to pull it tight, and I am going to just cut off a little bit of thread to play with. I find a little bit extra works best if you can. Loop it around like you did the first time to start the knot rather. Pull it through, hold it with your left hand or right, depending what hand is your dominant one. Again, I'm going to put it back through one more time. So I have a double knot really. Oops, see, that happens all the time in string art. Pops up all the time. And it would be great if I could just put that there, but it won't look right. So in this case, I just caused myself a knot. This is good to show this because this happens all the time. Now it brought me back 2 places from where I wanted. That's okay. For this example, I'll just knot it elsewhere. No problem. We'll just knot it here instead. It's not my actual project. So again, I'm going to loop it through. And I'm going to loop it through one more time. And I'm going to put that on around this nail head, and I'm going to pull it through and tight. And it will tight if you pull on it. It's pretty forgiving. And again, you can trim off the excess, but do not cut the knot. And you've got that little piece there. You can go ahead and use your scissor, or if you have tweezers, and you can wrap it through the inside. So I'm starting in the upper left-hand corner of my piece, and I decided to work from left to right, kind of top down at the same time frame. That way then I wasn't going to end up having 2 nails close together to make it complicated to be able to pound the nail in. It's a little bit quick, but you can see that I am pounding down, and then I will put the staple next to the nail to make certain that the nail head just, I guess, touches the top of the staple run, so it does not get sunk in too low. A couple times I found that the nail was not going in completely straight, so I might have used my pliers to pull it out and then sink it in. You can see as I'm kind of wrapping this up, getting them all nailed, that all of my nails are pretty straight. They're all the same height, and none of them were driven through to the back. Fun part, can rip off the template, grabbed in the corner with some tweezers, got the tape off. Any little tiny pieces of tweezer will work. And there you have it. Now the hard part, which is why it's good to have a template to the left. So you have to make a decision where you're going to start this, and I decided to start in the upper left-hand corner, tying a simple knot in the corner, and I made a plan that I was going to kind of go down and do each little section independently, but this is a little bit harder because all the nails are the same silver in color. If you have extra nails at home, you might be able to do different color nails, or even some people maybe have colored the nail head if you wanted to. Again, just making certain I'm counting spaces, making certain I'm wrapping around the perimeter of the letters is what I chose to do. You can see inside of the O and the P and the E, and even that big H, there's a middle section. That's going to be problematic if I don't do those somewhat early, but I was having a hard time visually seeing this, so I kind of wanted to get the top done first, just so I had the top of the H, O, P, and E. There is no rhyme and reason, as you can kind of see. You just really kind of have to feel the material, and it pops off a lot, and you'll kind of figure out which hand needs to hold the string extra taut. You're using every single one of the muscles in your fingers. It's a tiring process, but it's a lot of fun. It's creative. Crossover, make it be like a web if you want to. You could make a very systematic pattern if you like uniformity. I kind of like the randomness though. Randomness kind of also allows for a little bit of forgiveness if you were to make a mistake. Just continuing to outline the base of this. And soon you can kind of see, it's looking like an H. This is when the magic happens. You can completely enjoy long runs, and you'll find that these long runs are a lot easier than these tight little spaces. It was difficult to do the little space in the E in particular, and the tiny little space at the P at the base of the board. I also decided that I was going to do it in sections because I wanted a similar thickness. So I was able to cut it off, tie a knot, and then start again where I felt I wanted color. This would be a little bit easier if you had a same color string, but because this graduates from color to color to color, I found that I was getting just muddled colors. So I would stop when I got a new bright color like a yellow, and I wanted to place it on top of some darker colors underneath. The cuticle scissors are really a helpful tool. They're sharp enough that they cut the string beautifully. Just make certain when you snip your string around your knots that you do not accidentally cut the knot. It's a little frustrating because then you have to work backwards and take it off that nail and go to the nail previous to tie a knot. I have heard where some people will actually glue their knots down. I have not found a need to do that. There you go. It's all finished. It's a lot of color, it's a lot of wrapping. Took me a couple hours. Did you have fun? Learned how to make some string art? I hope you had a great time. Thanks for joining me.